As the city clock strikes 1 o'clock here in the heart of Norwich, a very warm welcome to St Peter Mancroft Church here in the heart of the city. My name's Edward Carter and I'm the vicar here at the church. It's lovely to see so many of you here looking around at parts of the Makers Festival, and indeed maybe others of you just here to enjoy being in the building, maybe to have a quiet moment or to light a candle. You're all very, very welcome here. Every Wednesday at 1 o'clock, we have a short reflection given, and I'm giving the reflection today. So please do enjoy listening to me or carrying on enjoying your visit as well is fine. And a welcome as well to any who are joining us on the live stream today. Well, this week here at the church, at St Peter Mancroft, we're helping to host the annual Makers Festival here in the city. And as I look around the church, I can see some amazing dragonfly sculptures here at the front on some of the columns and pillars. There's a crocheted Sir David Attenborough just to my left behind me, an amazing piece of craft work. There's a wonderful knitted connections artwork as well over by the north door. Long strands of knitted connections is what they are. And indeed, there are more of those over at the forum as well. There are some lockdown quilts that have been lovingly created over the last couple of years by different members of the community locally. Of course, there's the amazing knitted model of Sandringham, just to my right behind me, which is truly extraordinary. And we're very privileged indeed that Sandringham has come here to the church for these 10 days. It's a real feast of creativity. And I have to say, although I'm not actually a knitter myself or someone who does crochet, I do love being creative nonetheless. I actually create artworks of my own from time to time. I love board games and I invent new board games as well. Each Christmas time we have a crib set put out here at church, and that's been made, I've helped make it, but other members of our church and community have helped make some figures for our crib set. Indeed, sometimes I'll even write just short poems, all these different creative things that I do, and perhaps you have your own variation on that as well. If it's not knitting, I'm sure it's something amazing. And all that creativity, I think, is really precious and valuable. And indeed, art, in that big general sense, all the creative arts, I think they play a really important role within our communities. The Eton quilt behind me was a really important thing for those who took part at the depths of the first lockdown in 2020. It was part of the glue that kept people together, in touch with each other. And in a bigger sense, being creative together with other people is a tremendous binding us close together thing. I was reminded of that again also with the woolly mammoth that's over at the forum, and how so many different members of the community have actually just dropped by to knit an extra little piece for that woolly mammoth. I was talking to someone the other day who didn't realise they were going to be doing this, but they arrived and, oh yes, and they, within 5 minutes, they knitted a little piece that was just added to the head of the mammoth. It's an amazing thing. It kind of reminds us what we have in common, what binds us together, what we can do together. So that's great and really important. But actually, art has another very important function as well, and that is it can challenge us. It can disturb us, even. The knitted connections artwork is beautiful and thought-provoking, but also it is challenging, for me anyway. It makes me think about what does connect me to the wider world, what connects us, what keeps us together, and maybe the things that don't contribute to that. We know how many challenges there are in the world today. We only have to think into Eastern Europe to know that sometimes the connections are not strong and can fray and indeed be broken all too easily. And art can help us be honest about that and look at that, reflect on it, and then perhaps resolve to overcome all those challenges again with renewed strength. Art can remind us not to be complacent, not to overlook those difficulties in our world. It can bring our attention back to the important things that are happening. It's a really interesting fact that very authoritarian regimes around the world and through history have always been very suspicious of artists and of the creation of art. And they tended to suppress, or at least control very tightly, the way in which art is made. And that's true today, literally today, as we look around the world. In a way, creative art is the opposite of control. So you can see why an authoritarian regime would be very wary of art indeed. It would undermine their sense of being in control. And then for me, as a Christian person, creativity has a kind of extra important dimension. Because for me, all this creative work that goes on, and even the things that I try and create and make, all of that helps me recognize again, in some mysterious way, God's presence here in the world. We talk about a creator God, and that isn't just about the kind of beginning, what happened at the start, although that might be important. I believe that God's creativity, the way in which God creates, is an ongoing thing. It's always happening new. And as a Christian myself, I believe God is calling me, is calling all of us to join in that ongoing life, ongoing creativity, ongoing acts of creation. Some people have said even we're like co-creators with God in the world. It's a beautiful and wonderful thing. As we make something new, a dragonfly, a knitted sandringham, a connections artwork, as we make something new, we're expressing partly something important about us as individuals, who we are, but I think we're also saying something important about God with us, God in the world. And I think that God reveals much about himself and his nature through the creation, yes, and that creativity that seems to be part of the world. And then also sometimes, sadly, sheds light on the ways in which we turn away from God and become self-obsessed. So, this week's Makers Festival, it's got a few more days to run. It's a glorious thing. If you're here in the church, I hope you're enjoying it, and over to the forum as well. If you're online or catching up, I hope you're just in time perhaps to come into the city and have a look. The Makers Festival is a glorious and wonderful thing. It couldn't happen last year, but how good it is that it's happening again this year. Very life-giving, very joyous, and thought-provoking, even challenging. All of that is to the good. An amazing blend of wonderful imagination and great technical skills as well. And I hope, as it's inspired me, that it also inspires you. I hope that your creative moments, whatever they are in your life, I hope those creative moments are just as life-giving and as fun as the ones I enjoy are. And I hope as well that in some mysterious way, all of this creativity which we're part of sheds a bit more light on us as people and us as people who live our lives somehow under God, inspired by God and blessed by God as well. Well, thank you for listening to my reflection today. These reflections happen every Wednesday at 1 o'clock here at Mancroft. They are live streamed as well. I do hope you're able to join us at some of the future ones as well. Thank you again, and God bless.